Hey guys, today I'm doing a Dell 5566 laptop. We do our $69 mail-in repair services if you need it. And the first step to this one is going to be taking out the battery. Really, any laptop you work on, you want to disconnect power before you start taking anything apart. Next step is going to be taking these two screws out and removing the bottom panel. This will give you access to the Wi-Fi card, the hard drive, the RAM, and a few other things. Once you have this bottom panel removed, you can flip up that little retention lock. If you flip it up, it unlocks it. If you put it back down, that's the lock. So you want to remove that hard drive cable and then remove the 4 screws that are holding the hard drive into place. And then once all those screws are removed and that cable is unlocked, you can take the drive out physically. The next step is to remove the Wi-Fi card. This card actually needs to be removed because you can't take apart the case if it's still inside there, so it has to come up at an angle and come out, and then you can remove the 2 little wireless leads there. And then you need to remove the speaker cable. I try to put my fingernail on one side and the tip of the flathead screwdriver on the other, and then it just comes out. You have to be careful with it. And then once those are disconnected, you can remove the screws that are under that bottom panel. Those help keep the chassis in place. Next, you can remove the optical drive. This is held in by a single screw. And then underneath the optical drive, there's some small flat screws that are also part of the casing that need to be removed as well. And once those are out, you can do the rest of the bottom case screws. There's 2 or 3 rather total in the corners there. And next is the screws that are underneath the battery. And once the battery screws are removed, that's everything for the bottom chassis. So the next step here is to flip around the computer, open it back up, and remove the keyboard. The keyboard is held in by some little tabs, and you need to take a flathead screwdriver and kind of push those tabs in and pry up like you see in the video here. Once all those tabs are pushed in and up, then you can start removing the keyboard. That's kind of its unlocked position. And like I have to do in the video here, you might have to go back over a tab to make sure it's all the way out. And then you can flip up the retention lock for the keyboard cable. Just like the hard drive, it's a flip up to unlock, flip back down to lock. And the same thing goes with the power button cable and the touchpad cable and the optical drive cable. They all need to be flipped up to unlock, and then you can remove that cable. The next step is to remove the screws that are underneath the keyboard. And once those screws are removed, you can start the next step of taking apart the bottom casing of the laptop. This can be a little bit tricky, and it's probably the harder part of the tear down here. And I like to use a guitar pick for my pry tool. and just pick a random spot that looks good around the outer edging there, and you can take that guitar pick and kind of wedge it slightly in between the bottom case and the chassis. And once you go around it, you'll remove the little tabs. There's nothing that's removable, but they just kind of come up. And once you've got those tabs up, that bottom case will loosen up and you can kind of pry it off there carefully. Just try to go around with the pry tool and get as much of it pushed up as possible. And once you get a section of it, it'll start to come up a little bit easier. And we're almost done here, almost to the jack. In this part, I'm removing the LCD cable that's kind of in the way of the jack cable, so you want to get that just detached. And then there's a single motherboard screw that you want to remove so you can pull up a little bit on the board. And then the next is the jack screw that's being removed. So this is a plug-in cable style jack that's been broken, and so I just pull the motherboard up a little bit and I can remove the DC jack that's plugged into the motherboard. So now I have that jack removed and it comes out, as you can see in the video. You just pull it up and away. And as you can see in the video here, that jack's physically broken. It just needs to be replaced, and I'll put a new one on there, and this laptop will power up just fine again. And this is a common symptom with these Dell Inspiron laptops. You kind of plug them in and they just break. So that the connection feels very loose, doesn't feel solid like it used to, and in the case of this one here, the actual barrel of the jack is physically broken. Thanks guys, have a good day.